Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Forex Market Update for Wednesday, August 31st, 2016. Okay, in this update, we're going to briefly take a look at what's happening with the various major currency pairs, and we'll also take a look at the power of some pivot points. And I know the topic of pivot points is very popular, and folks just need a bit more clarity on how to use pivot points. So we'll briefly discuss the pivot points. But looking at the euro is still in a downward trend, especially here on the 4-hour chart. We see that the market is making a series of lower highs and lower lows. Taken from this was a period when it was in an uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. Didn't go that high. Market broke down, made a new low, lower high, lower low. This was a lower high than this point, and the market could be heading down for a lower low below this 109 level. So we have to look at the 109 level to see if the market can break below this 109 level, and that will definitely more than confirm this downtrend. Looking at the daily chart, we see the 109 level. It's clearer right here, and this is significant support in the euro, and we'll definitely want to break that support level. Looking at the British pound still remains, although the euro is down on the day, as you can see. The British pound is up on the day, but the market still remains in no man's land and tightly confined between these two triangles, or these points as denoted with the trend line. And this is what what's called a triangle in a downtrend. The market entered the triangle from the top, entered in a downtrend. Normally what happens, the market enters a triangle and then breaks to the downside. That happens most of the time. Please be aware, although it happens most of the time, it does not necessarily mean it will happen all of the time, because the market could break to the upside also. Trading is a game of probabilities. There's nothing that is 100% certain. So these rules are just mere guidelines in the broader spectrum of things. Okay, so that is what could be happening here with the British pound. Okay, moving on to the Swiss franc. Swiss franc versus US dollar is also a market in confined with some fairly well established trend lines. We see this trend line with the Swiss franc. It's a daily chart of the Swiss franc. Touch once, market came down again, touch this trend line a third time, a fourth time. So this is definitely a well-established trend line with the Swiss franc, and this is significant support in the Swiss franc. If the market was able to break below this area of support, that would be fairly significant. If it also is able to break above this area of resistance, the 1.00 level with the Swiss franc, that will also be significant. So as with the other currencies, we're just looking and waiting to see if these markets can break out of these ranges. And if we do break out of these ranges in the month of September here, we could be seeing some fairly significant gains or losses, depends on which currency pair you are speaking about. Now let me just highlight the pivot points and the power of monthly pivot points. I have on my chart here the pivot points plotted, and this we see the R2 monthly R2 of 113.53. So let me draw a line at this pivot point. This red line denotes the pivot point, and as you can see, the market went up to the monthly R2 pivot point level, which is a red line, and essentially that pivot point acted as significant resistance. We got a sell signal. Market traded below here. We saw a sell signal, and the market has been moving down ever since. So it's definitely important to your trading to pay attention to these various pivot points, because they can project support and resistance levels. The pivot point was 113.53 and the high here was 113.66. On the website acestrading.com, there's a pivot calculator where you can calculate the pivot points for yourself, and this is the monthly pivot point. So the new month is coming up of September. So to get the monthly pivot point, you will get the high and low. You'll get the high, low, and close for this current month, which is August, and then plug it into the pivot point calculator. So the high of the month was 113.66. The low of the month was 110.46, and in a couple of hours we'll get the actual close of the month, and then you when you have the closing price, you can then calculate the pivot points for September. And then what you can do is pay attention to the pivot points when prices trade around those pivot points. Okay, so I hope that brought some more clarity on pivot points. If you want some more detail on how to trade using our method and how to calculate pivot points in more detail, you can attend our webinar. The sign up link for the webinar is below this video. It's very educational and really gets into how to trade following trends and how to let price action be your guide when it comes to trading. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.